Welcome to the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast, a podcast for the naturally curious who want to define their own path. I'm your host, Kristen Rocco, and here I'm sharing bold move stories that propelled my guests from curiosity to action. And in doing so, they've defined a path that is purposeful to them. Through these stories, I hope you'll be inspired to pursue your boldest dreams. Today's episode is a super special one, and actually it's become a bit of a tradition now. Around this time last year, I put together a graduation-themed episode that brought together the most powerful reflections from my guests all season long, specifically answering the question that I always ask at the end. What do you know today about being bold you wish you would have known earlier on? That episode last year was one of my most shared and most talked about. And honestly, it stuck with me too. So this year, I knew I had to bring it back. Because graduation season, whether you're walking across a graduation stage or you're standing square in the middle of a major crossroads, is the perfect moment to pause and take in the wisdom of those who have already leapt and stumbled and rebuilt and then risen again. This episode is about what people who've been through it, who've made the bold moves, faced the setbacks and kept going, now know about being bold and what they wish they could have told their younger selves standing at the edge of their first big leap. Whether that is at graduation, looking out into the world and seeing this big world of opportunity in front of me and wondering, oh my gosh, it's up to me right now to write the how of my story. What am I gonna do? That's the heart of this episode, and I've gathered my guests since last graduation season. Entrepreneurs, creatives, leaders, authors, and advocates who all share wisdom they've earned from being in the arena, not watching from the sidelines, actually doing every day what it takes to make bold moves in their lives. These are the things they wish they knew sooner about being bold, and now their wisdom is being given to you. Things like, you don't need to have it all figured out before you start. Failure isn't a flaw. It's the price of boldness. It's actually the price of being bold. You don't need to be liked by everyone to do meaningful work and to make meaningful change. And being bold is something you actually owe to yourself. You don't want to look back at your life and regret not doing something that was sitting in your heart. So today's episode is part graduation speech, part pep talk, and all heart. Go ahead and find that share button for this episode and share this one with a new grad or even someone striving for great things but feels stuck right now, and help them get the tools and the inspiration, the encouragement, the motivation that they can do it. They can do whatever they put their mind to. They just have to embrace their inner boldness. You're going to hear from 14 bold movers who share their advice on what they wish their younger selves knew about being bold. We're starting this party right now, so buckle up and let's go.
I honestly think you just got to go out there and you got to live it, right? And so my advice would be just go and live and try to push yourself out of your comfort zone so that you're constantly like learning and experimenting and failing and picking yourself back up again. And then through that, you're going to develop courage, you're going to develop confidence, you're going to develop, this resilience, you're going to develop the mindset to help make you successful. But if you don't live it, you can't read it in a book. You can't live it through someone else's experience. And so just be willing to go out there, and there's no right answer. It's all a journey and it's all a path, and embrace it.
The best advice I've ever received is we make the best decisions we can with the information we have at the time. And then when we get new information, we make new decisions. So you're just always moving forward. And so you don't have regrets, you don't backtrack, you just keep moving forward when you get new information. And I think that's just how I operate now is I don't know when the next paycheck is coming, but I'll figure it out because I'll get new information and then I'll make a new decision. Try it on, try it out, keep moving.
Oh,
The byproduct of being bold is failing. And I wish I had embraced failure more regularly when I was younger in my career. And not that I didn't have setbacks, but the way I've been able to sort of rise from setbacks and learn from them and see them as a positive has been really transformative in my mindset and my ability to sort of navigate through some of those challenges in my career and personal life. And so, yeah, I wish I knew sooner that failure is a part of being bold. And we often only hear about the successes that are out there, right? And um, we miss the learnings, and those aren't documented as well. And sometimes those don't come across as well, but it happens a lot, right? We'll hear about the man landing on the moon, but we won't hear about all of those misfires that got him there.
If I could go back and just tell myself, like, you are so much more capable than you know today, and you are able to learn things, and you can trust that. You can trust that you'll be able to learn, and and things are going to be okay. You're not. What was the quote I just read today, which I thought was funny? Like something about you're not going to get kicked out of life. Like even a failure is not going to be that big of a thing, right? You can work through that. So I think it's that, like maybe not taking things so seriously, believing that I could be capable of more things and that I could learn more things. That's really what I wish I had told myself earlier.
You are worthy. You can have it.
yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is with all the doubts and the fears, the more that we can sink into, you can have this. You can have all that it is that you want. The more we can sink into that life for ourselves. So that's what I would tell myself.
I wish I had known that being liked or pleasing everyone is not going to get what you want. I've definitely been coming around to this idea, which you probably know, Kristen, in marketing, where attract and repel. And the stronger you repel, the stronger you're also going to attract, right? The people who you are best placed to be able to serve. So I definitely wish I had known that. And the second thing I wish I had known is that becoming a parent doesn't mean that you lose your creative, interesting part of your life and you stop being able to do lots of different things, and that it's this like end of anything fun. Because I work with a ton of people who are parents. I'm a parent myself, and I will say that becoming a parent was one of the reasons that spurred me to create this workshop, which was the start of the business. And it was because I realized I'm someone's mom. So I don't need to be intimidated by these people in the room that I'm in or these board conversations. Like, I'm somebody's parent, and it's time to act like I have this expertise and knowledge and to put it out there into the world.
Just do it. I mean, literally, what did I have to lose? And the rewards on this side of having the opportunity to be my own boss, living this life that I've always wanted. I didn't know that that was something I wanted. I didn't know that was something I could do, but I saw others doing it. And like you started chatting with them and seeing what the potential was and realizing that can include me. That doesn't mean it's that not everything is everyone else, because I kind of have that handbook now, because we all are writing our own. I kind of forgot about that part of it, that the handbook was, we're not all handed one, because we all have our own. Yeah.
On the other side of that bold move are going to be lessons and people and places and experiences that were in a blind spot for you before taking that leap. And that is more true every time I set myself up and leap.
I think being bold is something that you owe to yourself. I didn't always know that. And I think most people think that they just sort of have to conform and live by everybody else's rules. And that's the only way to really kind of be successful in weaving your way through life. That's bullshit. I don't subscribe to that at all anymore. I did for a long time, but it wasn't until I realized that doing my own thing, living by my rules, operating my own way is the only true way that I'll be successful.
I wish I had come to terms with the fact that like not everyone was going to like me much sooner. I wish I had just given up on that notion much, much sooner and actually embraced the truth that if I was going to do what I set out to do, which involves being vulnerable, being brave, being honest, being perhaps controversial, showing through my writing shame and vulnerability and all this stuff and rage and you know, kind of stuff we don't like talking about, that it was necessarily going to be a turnoff to some people. And it was just a huge revelation when I realized some people are going to react really strongly and negatively if I'm doing it right. And so, you know, I think I grew up like a lot of women, just convinced I needed everyone to like me. And it was really freeing to learn like the right people will like me and others will hate me. And all I can do is write a book that I think is good.
If I could do it all over again, I would have taught more often and been louder. Because I now know there's nothing wrong with what I was doing. There's nothing wrong with what I was saying. It's just that the people hearing it didn't like it. They didn't like it. And that means you're being successful. And that's the one thing I would change. I would have taught louder and more.
I wish I had known to do it with more support and guidance. It's not that I didn't have, like I said earlier, I had coaches and I had therapists and I had teams I was involved in, all of that. But my ego had me so resistant to saying, hey, do you know anybody I should talk to? Hey, do you know anybody that would be good for me to know? The first couple of years, I was so resistant to asking for help that it took me longer to build than it needed to if I had put my ego aside and allowed people or invited people into being my champions.
You don't need to have the answer before you start. There's a little bit of a leap of faith involved. If someone had told again, the 24-year-old me that just trying things and not worrying about the end result or how that's going to look on paper would be the key to ultimately finding the things that make meaning for you, that would have blown my mind. I didn't feel like I had permission to do things that were outside of a traditional achievement box. And I feel like actually your podcast is giving that essential permission, because if they're listening and they're on the fence about whether to make a change, I mean, what you're saying is giving people permission to try little things. Doesn't have to be a huge change yet, or it could be a huge change, but it really, those of us on these pilgrims that we all are, we're giving each other permission to try, to fail, and to figure things out as we go, and to not know the answers in advance.
The final message for you is to not give up when it gets hard and you face setbacks. These 3 little words, don't give up, have helped me through many insecure times in this journey over the last 2 years. But because I have heard from so many different people I've spoken to on the podcast and in my real life who are doing bold things and making bold moves, they say that you only fail if you give up. And that little piece of advice has always sat planted in the back of my head as I've been going through my journey of making bold moves. Don't give up. I hope this episode gave you that extra push, whether you're just stepping into the world after graduation, navigating those first few years of your career, or offering encouragement to someone who's about to make their own bold leap. This advice reminds us that being bold doesn't require having all the answers. It just requires a willingness to show up in all of your uncertainty, with all of your fear, and with every dose of your curiosity and keep going. If you know someone graduating right now or anyone who's standing at a crossroads, please send them this episode and tell them why you thought of them. That little nudge might be exactly what they need to hear today. And for even more inspiration, I'll be linking last year's version of this graduation speech episode in the show notes. That's right, double the bold advice, double the encouragement, and a reminder that every version of you at 22, at 42, or 102 is still learning, still growing, and still bold enough to begin. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, I'm cheering to your bold move, friend. You've got this. Now it's time to show the world what you've got.